The Steam Lunar New Year sale has kicked off, running from January 27th until February 3rd. I've combed through and found all of the best deals for you, and in this video, I'm presenting my top picks for strategy games in the Lunar New Year sale. We have some new discounts that we've never seen before, some higher highs and some lower lows. Let's jump in and talk the deals. Firstly, the wonderful grand strategy game from Paradox Studios. It's Crusader Kings 3. Crusader Kings 3 has to be one of the best strategy RPG simulation games on record. Its historical flair is unmatched like any other, and it has this wonderful ability to provide a great action for storytelling and character development with character lineage, deep stories, intrigue. Crusader Kings 3 has it all, and for the first time, it's on a 33% discount. I don't believe we've seen it this discounted, and this is just 1 month away from it releasing its first full DLC pack, Royal Court, as well. So it seems like no better time to pick up Crusader Kings 3 if you're not playing it already. I won't dwell on this puppy for too long, but it's really important to note that Sid Meier's Civilization 6, the grand poobah of 4X strategy games, is 85% off. I have a separate video running through my buyer's recommendations for Civilization 6, so I won't delve too deep into it this time, but if you can afford the anthology, you should absolutely stretch for the anthology bundle. Otherwise, you do have a couple of DLC options. I recommend, personally, the Gathering Storm DLC to be the best. The New Frontier Pass also adds a lot of diversity of play though, so some of those newer packs can be worth your time. But overall, I recommend you grab the Anthology, or even just the base game. If you've never tried Civ 6 before, now is the time. In a previous recommendations video, I recommended Frostpunk, and I noted that Frostpunk 2 is announced and releasing this year. And I had a surprisingly positive amount of feedback about people who had picked up this game and really enjoyed it. It's low price to entry at around $6 makes it a pretty easy pickup. It's a city builder come survival strategy game. You can see it's got a post-apocalyptic, sort of cyberpunk feel. So if you don't like that feeling so much, you may not enjoy this game. I don't love that experience or setting, but I loved this game. I can really recommend Frostpunk at a low price to entry. It's a fun, different kind of strategy game, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Total War Warhammer 3 comes out this year, so in line with the theme of this video in building up to our sequels, it would be unfair not to mention Total Warhammer 2 is on special in the Steam Lunar New Year sale for 66% off. You can pick up the previous edition of the Total War Warhammer sub-franchise. This game was broadly fairly well received, Warhammer 2, largely a positive reception when it released in 2017. There have been newer Total War games since, but if you want to jump into the Warhammer world, this is the place to do it. It is, of course, a fantasy setting, unlike most of the things on this list, but I know that there are some fantasy strategy fans out there. This one could be for you. If you'd prefer to jump into the Total War franchise in more of a grounded historical setting, you can of course choose to jump in somewhere like Total War 3 Kingdoms. Again, a pretty positively received Total War game. This one released only a couple of years ago in 2019. Again, of course, we see those wonderful real-time strategy mixed with turn-based historical strategy elements that provide the Total War franchise. It's a franchise that's been running for decades long now. You could choose any entry point and be fairly happy so long as you ignore sort of a grey period of around 8 to 10 years ago. But otherwise, Total War 3 Kingdoms I think is a reasonable place to entry, particularly if you like the Asian subcontinent setting. Northgard is a hidden gem of a strategy game produced by Shido Games, a developer that you should watch out for this year because they have some interesting work in the pipelines. But that's not the topic of this video. Northgard is a really wonderful sort of strategy game that combines real-time elements with a city builder colony sim survival focus as well. It is a little bit different from the rest of the editions on this list for that very reason, because it is more of a colony sim, a city building survival game, with tech tree lore elements built into it, and of course the constant threat of both perceived and actual threats, whether it's invaders coming to steal your land or the threat of winter starving your people. Northgard is a really enjoyable experience, and again, at a really low entry price, just like Frostpunk earlier on this list, it's hard to not recommend this little gem. Following Humankind Day and Amplified's Festival, Humankind is 25% off on Steam. I always have a link in my videos to purchase Humankind on Steam through my links, so I won't shamelessly plug that. However, I am part of the partner program, and if you buy it through that link, I do get a little bit of a kickback. However, that isn't the focus here. The focus here is that this is the best discount we've seen on Humankind, first equal. 25% off is a pretty good discount on a game that already doesn't retail at those massive AAA title price points. It's priced slightly below. In my case, that's 80 New Zealand dollars, down from 100 or 120. In your case, it might be 40 US. Either way, 25% off is a pretty good deal for Humankind, and if you don't own it already, feels like a good time to pick it up. And showing a little bit of love to the rest of the Endless universe today, Endless Space 2 is 80% off. This is a common discount for Endless Space 2, so don't feel the need to jump at this immediately. It did of course come out in 2017. Like some of the other games on this list, it is a somewhat reoccurring discount. However, it's the best one that we see, equaling that of the Endless Day as part of Amplified's festival that took place this month. Endless Space 2 is of course a sci-fi space 4X strategy game. It has multiplayer as well, and I'm told it's quite good, but you'll largely be playing it for the single player experience, and it is a very enjoyable one at that. There is of course always the other ever popular option of Stellaris. If you're looking for similar fantastic 4X space strategy games, I would also very much recommend Stellaris. Cities Skylines from developer Colossal Order and published by Paradox Interactive seems to be the city builder that just keeps giving. I reviewed it 6 years ago and called it the best city builder on the market, and I stand by that today. Cities Skylines is still delivering on new DLC content, on new modded content. The community is strong, and the game is incredibly enjoyable. If you like managing a city, building a city, or simulating a city, and all of the intricacies that go with it, from urban planning to transport and everywhere in between, you will love Cities Skylines. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I can't recommend it highly enough. Out of Xbox Game Studios, we have Age of Empires 4, a game that I've covered a little bit on the channel. It is, of course, the most recent addition to the Age of Empires franchise, having only released merely a few months ago. It's a real-time strategy RTS game. You will know what it is. The important thing to note here is that it's 10% off. It has a quite high retail price, particularly in my region. For whatever reason, this game particularly suffers the bane of regional pricing, so do take care. It's important to note that, like some of the other editions on this list, and particularly the Age of Empires edition being an Xbox Game Studios title, that it is available on Game Pass. So if you have Game Pass, you might not need to buy this through Steam. However, it's important to note on this list, because it's the first time we've seen it discounted at a small but reasonable, considering it only released a couple of months ago, to wild success, 10% off Age of Empires 4. If you want to enter the Age of Empires franchise in a little bit more of a nostalgic or perhaps lower price point, you could always choose Age of Empires 2, the HD edition. Overwhelmingly positively reviewed, one of the most popular strategy games on Steam still. This puppy will only set you back a few dollars. Like the Frostpunks of earlier in this list, it's an easy recommendation at a low price point, particularly if you'd like that nostalgic hit. If you wouldn't like the nostalgic hit, it might not be for you. And lastly on my list, I have RimWorld, the fierce game that refuses to offer anything greater than a 10% discount. RimWorld is largely regarded as one of the best games of all time, again in the strategy genre. It's a colony sim, base builder, survival strategy game with huge elements of RP and storytelling buried within it, although you might not think so looking at some of the screenshots. I'm told wonderful things, although I have to admit, it's a game that I still have yet to pick up. As much as I've wanted to, I just have yet to pick it up. So while I can't recommend it from personal experience, I have so many subscribers who have reached out to me and recommended it that I'm sure this game is absolutely fantastic, and you can find loads of great content for it on YouTube to check it out as well. Thank you very much for watching. These have been my strategy game recommendations for the Steam Lunar sale. I think there's some pretty good ones in here. Do let me know if you enjoy or don't enjoy any of these recommendations. It's really useful to fuel future videos, and I'll see you next time.